Hey everybody, it's David here from Tarot Avenue. I'm so pleased to have you here with me. Today we're going to be looking at a new tarot spread, and as always, I'm going to break it down, show you the spread, and then show you an example as well. I always find this helps just so you can follow along and you can, try the spread for yourself and see what happens. So we are looking at past life tarot spread. Now this spread, I wanted to dig into kind of to get those influences, to get a sense of who we were in our past lives. Now, this will depend on your beliefs. Some people will believe you've had many past lives. To be honest, this is a bit out of the realm of what I usually do. However, I'm always learning and growing as a tarot reader, so very happy to experiment with this and give it a try. It can look at maybe one of your past lives, or maybe even kind of the influence of all those different past lives put together, and you'll get a sense of who you were and then a real feeling for kind of what you have learned from those past lives and where that has brought you to today. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So we will look at the spread, and it is as follows. So you'll see there it's a 6-card spread, and we start with who were you. Now this one is a bit more just to get a kind of flavor for who you were. It won't necessarily give you too much information about what you did or exactly kind of who you were in society or anything like that, but I just wanted to get a general energy for who you were. And then we'll try and get a bit more specific about what did you do. So there we want to look for occupations. We want to get a sign for kind of what you did throughout your life, what you were known for in that life. And then we'll look at what challenges you faced along the way. And then 4 is how did you die? Now, these are difficult to interpret. This is not an easy tarot spread. I like to really keep it simple with tarot spreads, but this one is a bit more challenging. But I would encourage you to give it a go, because anytime we're challenged, that's when we start to kind of push our intuition, think a bit differently, and see if we can come out with some of those interpretations and make them fit into the context as well. But really important to tap into that intuition during this spread and let that be your guide. So moving on there, we then have what lessons did you learn? And then we get to how have you been influenced? So that's a real look at how did that past life influence this current life that you're in. So it is. So I drew some cards, and this is a hypothetical, but I did it kind of for me, just to see if we could get a feel for one of my past lives. And this is what came up for me. So let's have a look through that. So we start there with the who were you, and we get the 2 of Cups. So the sense I get from this is there were a few things came through to me when I looked at this. I felt like I was really drawn to that symbol. I think it's called the caduceus up the back. Now that's quite often used in medicine. It's quite often a medical symbol. So I had a feeling that maybe there's a sense of, and we do get to what did you do, but maybe a sense of doctor, healer. And just even with those cups as well, though, it felt like it was very kind of heart-led. It's something coming from the heart. And I almost felt like, even looking at the cups, now this is often a card that shows up for love, but I don't know, just when pairing it with my intuition in this, I felt like it was something to do with kind of potions and maybe some kind of medicine. So some kind of medical person, but leading from the heart. And I would also say quite kind of spiritual, quite creative. And then we get to what did you do? And that kind of ties in with that for me as well, because we have the star coming in there. And the star for me is a card very much about healing as well. So I felt like it was kind of healing and helping other people heal and get to where they needed to be in their life. But there's something, again, very natural about this card. So this card could be seen as, it's very kind of raw and natural, could be seen as quite a kind of witchy card, I suppose. And even with the kind of stars in the background there, you feel like it's somebody that's quite tuned into the earth, quite tuned into the elements, and tuned in with who they are and what their gifts are. So again, I'm going to go with kind of who you were and what did you do. I'm going to go along the lines of some type of healer, some type of doctor, some type of kind of spiritual medicine man or woman. And then what challenges did you face? So you'll see we're starting to kind of build a narrative around this. Then we get the devil card. So I'm thinking, well, if that person was a healer and maybe if they were a bit more kind of spiritual, they could have faced some challenges in the way that people were scared of that. People could have seen it as the occult, and people are far more open now to these things than they were before. Well, it's interesting, in certain cultures they've always been open, but in certain cultures they've always been very closed. So it depends on the kind of cultural aspect of where this person came from. But I would say that the challenge was fear. There was a lot of fear. There were people, saw it as a sign of the occult, saw it as kind of devil worship, and felt like you were trying to, because I'm interested in the two characters there that are chained, quite tie into the Two of Cups characters there as well, the very first card. So I wonder if there was a sense that maybe you were putting a spell on people or holding people captive or something like that. And then we move through to the how did you die? So that's a tricky one, the magician. So something quite interesting came up for me when I drew this. So I was thinking, the magician, again, it's actually the first card in the deck. I know the fool is the 0, so almost lives out with the deck. But the magician is almost like the first card in the deck. So it feels like the start of a new adventure. But how did you die? It almost felt like... And this ties into the next card as well. It feels like a bit of a sacrifice for me. I think this person maybe died at somebody else's hand, but they also knew, if you look at the magician's hands, it's like he's channeling above and bringing it below. So it's almost like he knew that his death wouldn't be in vain, and it would be to lead on for a higher purpose, and that he knew he would be coming back to this earth again. So it was almost like I felt like the death was at somebody else's hand, but it was a sacrifice that this person was prepared to make and take because they knew it wasn't the end. They knew that they were going to live on. So we're getting quite kind of off the planet, off the grid here, but this is just the stuff that's coming through. And I'd be interested to hear how you guys go with this spread as well. So please write in the comments and let me know how you've gone with this. I'd love to hear what's come up for you in your past lives. Then we got on to the next one is, what lessons did you learn? And we get the Three of Swords. So again, this is a card for me about sacrifice. It's about making a logical decision, but still weighs heavy on the heart. So it's like the head and the heart are kind of fighting and causing some grief and tension and sadness. But it almost feels like the lessons that you learned were like, sometimes you have to take the logical route, because I almost feel like this character is like, yes, I'm going to have to sacrifice myself, but it is for a higher purpose, and it's still very hard decision to make. It's still sad, leaving this kind of physical earth, but it is something that needs to happen. And then we get through to, how have you been influenced? And this was an interesting one for me because, there's something very grounded about this card. When we get to the Eight of Pentacles, he's a craftsman. He's working. He's working on really kind of building that craft, building his, you just feel like he wants to get his head down and work, but there is something very grounded. So it feels to me a little bit like he's been influenced in the way of, in the past, he knows that he needs to continue this work, but in a more grounded manner. Now, what's interesting about that for me is my approach to tarot, right from when I first started, I always wanted to keep it really grounded, and I didn't want any kind of esoteric terms. I wanted it to be so relatable to other people and for myself as well. So that's why I always like to keep it simple, because for me, my style is not to go kind of really kind of woo-woo and spiritual, and plenty of people do, and I think that is fantastic. I love what other people do, but for me, it was always about keeping grounded. And this kind of makes sense now to me. It's like, well, if I've been persecuted in the past for being that kind of, putting myself out there as this kind of medicine herbalist or healer, there's a sense now that I need to just keep my feet firmly planted on the ground, but still determined to do the work and determined to spread the word. And I know that there's more work to be done. It doesn't just happen. And you know, it could be the work that I'm doing in this life could be something that I take on to the next life as well. So there you go. It is a bit out there, but as I say, I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoy these tarot spreads, head over to tarotavenue.com. On the homepage there's an opportunity for you to download your free tarot book. It's full of tarot spreads, so you can go over there. And please do write in the comments. Let me know how you go with it all, and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.